Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of our Connecting East and West podcast. With me, your host, journalist Luis Pino. Connecting East and West is an initiative by East Consulting, the leading business and legal advisory firm bridging businesses between Asia and Latin America. Connecting East and West is your monthly space dedicated to bringing helpful ideas and high caliber views on the business landscape of these two regions. Connecting East and West by East Consulting is your partner to connect and make the most out of both regions. And I'm sure you are going to enjoy the next 25 minutes of conversation with my very, very long time friend and colleague, Marcel Opliger, one of the smartest journalists that I've had the pleasure of working with. Marcel is a Chilean journalist, an editor, currently living in Taipei, the capital city of Taiwan, where he hosts Taiwan Edge. We're going to be talking about Taiwan Edge today. A new YouTube channel that showcases Taiwan as a world-class innovation hub. Taiwan Edge reaches out to global English and Spanish-speaking audiences by featuring company profiles, interviews, business stories, and innovation news. Before deciding to settle down in Taiwan, Marcel worked as op-ed and opinion editor in some of the most influential media outlets in Chile. In one of those media outlets, which is called Diario Financiero, he was also in charge of the op-ed pages of Connecting to Asia and Connecting to China, which were tailor-made sections to comment on the specific aspects of the importance of Asia to Chile. He is also the author of 3 non-fiction books: The Faith Revolution, A Journey into the Venezuela of Hugo Chavez, Chile's Malaise, A Theory of or a Diagnosis, and The Forgotten Chileans, Listening to the Victims of Violence in La Araucanía. Good evening for you, my friend. How are you?
Hello, Luis. It's a pleasure talking to you. It's been a long time, and I thank you for that very kind introduction. I'm sure I am not one of the smartest journalists you know, or at least I hope so.
Yes, you
But
are.
thank you
You are.
anyway.
Believe me, my friend. Okay, Marcel. Let's go into business. But of course, I mean, our conversation will go around Taiwan Edge, your endeavor, the endeavor you're leading now from Taipei. But before that, if I may, I would like to know a little bit more about your personal, motivations to be there, right? So before we dive into your project, let me ask you first, how it was that one day, I believe about 2 years ago, you just decided to pack up your stuff and with your wife go all the way to Taiwan from Chile. I mean, what aspects of Taiwan led you to that decision?
My wife and my cats.
Your cats, all right.
Yes. Well, actually, it wasn't such a sudden decision. We thought about it for a while, and we wanted to explore Asia. We have wanted to do that for a long time because uh, we both are great admirers of Asian cultures, which are of course very different. Asia is a very rich and varied region, and when we decided that we were going to move to Asia, to be honest with you, Taiwan seemed like the logical destination. I mean, many countries in Asia are super interesting and fascinating places to visit and to live in. But we thought that Taiwan was, um, let's say, a friendlier place, a place where we could fit in more easily. It is, of course, a democracy. It's a market economy. It's one of the most developed countries in the world, not only in Asia. We had a few friends here that are Taiwanese, and also a couple of Chilean friends. So when it came time to take the decision, Taiwan was the right place to go, and we do not regret it. It's been a wonderful experience. We've been here for a year and a half now. Hopefully, we will stay much longer. And I can tell you that it's a wonderful place. I invite you, of course. I have invited you already to come whenever you can. And if you allow me, I would like to invite also your audience through your podcast to come and visit Taiwan whenever they can. They won't regret it.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. I take your word.
Please.
Okay, so let's go now to your Taiwan initiative. We all know that normally, I mean, when Taiwan makes headlines, it does so in relation to the tensions with China, right? I mean, the permanent risk of
Sure.
Chinese invasion is always kind of looming over the island, right?
Absolutely.
So this, of course, is something all Taiwanese people must live with every single day, and I am sure you know that now pretty well, right? So, but having said this, Marcel, how important do you consider to somewhat change the dominant narrative about Taiwan by pointing out the countless components that make Taiwan a world-class innovation hub, which is, of course, what you're trying to do with Taiwan Edge?
Yeah. Well, you are quite right that the narrative that dominates the Taiwan news, I think it's basically twofold. Okay, two very big topics. The biggest one you already mentioned is China and the tensions with China. So Taiwan, I think in world news and certainly in Latin America, usually appears in relation to that problem because of its geopolitical situation. The other part of the narrative, I would say more recently, after COVID or during COVID, the world realized that Taiwan was the source of more than 90% of the world's most advanced chips. And the company that does that is TSMC, the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, which is a huge company. It's a company that was founded in the 80s, and that completely dominates the semiconductor industry in the world. It's really an incredibly fascinating story, business story. And so people hear about Taiwan because of China and because of that very, very big and important company. And those are two topics that are, of course, very relevant and real. But Taiwan, like any country, is much more than two things. It's like saying, I don't know, France is more than cheese and wine. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
It has many stories, many things that make it an interesting country, and the same with Taiwan.
And that brings me to my next question. Actually, I mean, let's go to the point of innovation, if you want. I mean, in your words, you already mentioned TSMC, but what makes Taiwan a worldwide hub of innovation? I mean, more specifically, and if you wish, what aspects of Taiwan's innovation landscape would you say explain for the most part the status of innovation hub for Taiwan? I mean, a world-class innovation hub.
Well, rather than just say or just tell you that is an innovative place or an innovation hub, I would just like to give you some examples of huge global companies that I think many people are not aware are Taiwanese companies. And of course, it's not only TSMC or UMC, which is another very big semiconductor manufacturer, but Asus, the computer maker, is Taiwanese. Acer is Taiwanese. MediaTek is Taiwanese. Quanta is Taiwanese. Wistron is Taiwanese. D-Link is Taiwanese. And Giant Bicycles is Taiwanese. And really, I could go on. I don't have the names on the top of my head, but there are dozens of very big global companies that are very recognizable brands that are from Taiwan, and I'm pretty sure most people are not aware that are from Taiwan. So just the list of those companies is evidence of how innovative Taiwan is. But below that first layer of huge companies and global brands, there is a second and a third layer. I would say medium companies, okay, that are not only in the computer industry or the semiconductor industry, but that are in biotech, in green energy, in sports, in other kinds of industries that are also Taiwanese and that also have a global footprint. And below that second layer is an incredibly rich and varied layer of startups in every kind of industry that you can imagine. And I was reading the other day that I believe Taiwan is the country that has the largest number of startups per capita of any country in the world.
Wow.
Okay,
Wow.
when I came here, I was expecting to find dozens of startups. Then a few months later, I realized they were hundreds, and now I know that they are thousands, really
Wow.
thousands of startups. So that should tell your audience that really this is an incredible place as far as innovation goes.
Excellent. I've got a question specifically on the startup ecosystem in Taiwan for you, but
Yeah.
I would like to come back to the you already listed out a number of brands, Taiwanese brands that we all know, but probably we don't know that are from Taiwan, right?
Yeah.
But I would like to, if you can, if you could give us some hints as to the Taiwanese environment that is so, efficient to kind of push up innovation, right, in Taiwan. So, what aspects will you point out as to, for example, I don't know, the regulatory system or some sort of entrepreneurship mindset among the Taiwanese population, vis-a-vis other peoples in Asia, right? I mean, the Chinese, the Koreans, and the Japanese, and so on and so forth.
Yes. Well, it is good that you mentioned those countries because they are obviously also very important innovation hubs. Japan and Korea and of course China, which is enormous and is currently leading the world in many cutting edge technologies. And some people are very worried about that, actually. Um, but you know, uh, I wouldn't like to present myself as an expert, but I believe there are. I can make a few assertions that are not too far from the truth. One of them is more structural, and I heard this from a very famous journalist here from a leading business publication called Commonwealth Magazine, and her name is Guan Yin Lu. She also has a podcast that I recommend your audience to follow. It's called Taiwanology. And she mentioned the fact that Taiwan is an island. It's a small island, and it has a very small population, so it's a small market. And Taiwan is not a resource-rich country. Okay, for example, it has to import all of its energy needs. Okay, its oil, its gas, and also other products that it doesn't produce. It doesn't have a mining industry, for example, like Chile does. To mention an important mining country in Latin America. So the combination of a small market and relative lack of natural resources kind of forces the Taiwanese to look for other ways to grow, you know. And according to Guan Yin Lu, and I think I trust her analysis on this, innovation is what the Taiwanese have chosen to do in order to survive. She says that innovation is a survival strategy. And I believe that they need to be innovative because they cannot rely on their own market. So many companies, most companies in Taiwan, even if they are not working in cutting edge technologies, they are generally thinking about the global market, not only the Taiwanese market, because, like I said, the Taiwanese market is limited. So they have a global mindset. This is also something that the Chilean trade representative here in Taiwan was very insistent on that Taiwanese companies have a global mindset. They are oriented toward internationalization from the very beginning. I think that is one very key reason. And another reason is that, as you mentioned, there is here in Taiwan a very powerful and rich ecosystem that supports companies that are new companies, okay, startups that are innovating. Um, and not only, by the way, not only Taiwanese companies, but also foreign companies that come here to do business. And they can find a very rich ecosystem of accelerators, of incubators, of government programs and private programs, competitions and awards and fairs, um, where companies can start their life, okay, and where they can begin to find an audience, to test their products, and to market it. So that combination of the need for innovation, because that is what you need to do to survive, and the fact that there is a very strong support system for that innovation, I think is what makes Taiwan such a powerful innovation hub.
Excellent. So based on those two premises, Marcel, and especially the first one, that idea that you pointed out, that the innovation is a sort of survival strategy, right, for
Yeah.
Taiwan. Well, we both know that pretty well, that in many cases, in all the cases actually, the key to success is the storytelling process, right? So
Okay.
in this regard, will you say Taiwan is successfully telling its innovation, high-end technology capabilities to the world? Or is there something in your view that is being missed here? Because of course, and that will be a responsibility for both the authorities and the business community alike, I guess, right? But what's your view? What's your take on this point in particular?
Well, I am a guest in this country. I'm a visitor, so I'm reluctant uh, to give advice or to be very critical. But I can't help to agree with what you seem to be saying, and I think you're correct. Taiwan is not telling its story well enough and loudly enough. Um, the reasons for that, I can only surmise. Okay, I think that Chinese pressure is enormous. Taiwanese companies do a lot of business with China and in China, so there is always the concern of not stepping on China's toes, so to speak. So they're very careful of not broadcasting too loudly the fact that they are Taiwanese, and they don't go out in they don't go out in the world with their flag on wearing their flag on their sleeve. Okay, and I think that makes business sense for them. It's a strategy to lay a little low and don't attract the wrong kind of attention. But at the same time, I think there is a national story that needs to be told, uh, at least in regards to innovation. And it's this, what I've just told you, this immensely rich ecosystem and this immensely rich field of innovative companies that that should be more well known outside of Taiwan. And this is what I'm trying to help to do with my channel. I am, of course, not the only one worried about that, and there are many Taiwanese, many bright Taiwanese that are working in this area that are trying very hard to tell their story. But I figured that being a foreigner and uh, and being from Latin America, which is not a very doesn't have a very strong presence here, I could make a contribution, and that's what I'm trying to do. To in my channel, I don't speak about the geopolitical situation, and I don't speak too much about TSMC, although of course I do sometimes because it's such uh, uh, a huge part of the Taiwanese success story, like Foxconn. Foxconn is another enormous company that is Taiwanese. So I tried not to touch on those two areas and to devote myself to other companies that are in the innovative space. Of course, doing that with one video per week on a small YouTube channel, it's just a grain of sand. But that's how you make a beach, right? One grain
Absolutely.
at a time, right? So
By
that's
the
what I'm
way,
trying to do.
that's exactly what we're trying to do as well with connecting
I,
East
I
and
know,
West.
I know, I know.
Okay, let me take you to the startup ecosystem.
Yeah.
You have already said some things, but in terms of the Taiwanese ecosystem, more specifically, what opportunities will you underscore for Latin American startups and scale-ups as well, in particular? I mean, from any Latin American country. I know you had an interview, a very interesting one with Chile's trade commissioner in Taiwan. I think it was last week, a
Yes.
couple of weeks ago.
Fernando Schmidt. Yes.
There you go, exactly. And but in more, I mean, not just for Chile, of course, but for any Latin American country. In what aspects would you point out as to Taiwan's startup and scale up ecosystem that makes it that make it so interesting for, I mean, at least for the
Yeah.
searching opportunities over there.
Well, of the top of my head, I can think of two things. One is that uh, because Latin America is composed mostly, or actually totally, of emerging economies, okay, developing countries. Even after 2 centuries of independence, none of our economies is still at the developed stage. Whereas Taiwan was a very poor country 50 years ago, that it's only half a century, and now it's among the 20 biggest economies in the world and the most developed countries. Um, because Taiwan is so developed and Latin America has so many needs because we are emerging economies, I think there is an obvious complementarity there. Okay, that Latin America needs many things that Taiwan can provide. Okay, in terms of uh, I don't know, I'm thinking green energy, for example, semiconductors, of course, smart cities, artificial intelligence, biotech, healthcare, smart healthcare. In all of those areas, um, Taiwan has a rich ecosystem that Latin American countries could benefit from. Okay, if we knew each other better, I think there is a problem that Latin America knows very little about Taiwan, but also Taiwan knows very little about Latin America. Okay,
That was going to be my next question, actually. Well,
yes,
yeah,
we
the
both have to
opportunities
make
over
an
there.
effort there, that we need to know each other better. And the other thing I would mention regarding your question about what Latin American companies, what kind of business they can do here, I would like to mention the example of two Chilean companies that I'm going to feature on my channel. This is a spoiler very soon, but that I had the
A
chance of
sneak peek.
interviewing. And they are very interesting because you would think that because Taiwan is so advanced technologically, then there is nothing it can learn. You cannot bring technology to Taiwan because Taiwan has all the technology that it needs. That is not true. That is not true. And these two Chilean companies prove that. One of them is called InSpatial, okay, and they have developed already a technology that uses artificial intelligence to uh, to um, to scare birds away from wind turbines, okay, in wind parks for aeolic energy, okay, and they are doing that with artificial intelligence, with sensors, and this is Chilean-made technology, and they are bringing this to Taiwan. They are looking for partners, they are looking for customers, so they are still in the exploration state, I would say, but they are pretty advanced, okay, so they are finding a way to bring Latin American technology to Taiwan. And the other example is a company called QSire, also from Chile. Look, I cannot really tell you what they do because I don't understand. It's it's uh, it's super advanced physics and mathematics, okay,
Oh wow.
and quantum words like quantum
Kind
and
of
stuff
quantum
like that.
computing. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, that something that really I will never understand. But
Okay.
they are they are offering solutions not only to Taiwan, they are offering a semiconductor optimizing solution to TSMC. So TSMC, probably one of the most advanced companies, if not the most advanced company in the semiconductor industry in the world, is welcoming this Chilean small company because they find that they have a good solution for one of their problems. Don't ask me what the problem is because I can't explain it.
Okay.
But basically, it's again very complex technology in the
Okay.
semiconductor industry that is generated in Chile and that has found or is finding a place here in Taiwan. Okay, so I am sure, I am absolutely certain that in our countries in Latin America, in Argentina, in Peru, Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, and many others, okay, there are many very intelligent people and very interesting companies and hardworking people with innovative companies that if they tried, if they opened their minds and if they are bold, like the Chilean trade representative told me in that interview that you mentioned, they need to be bold. They need to say, okay, let's do it. Let's go to Taiwan. It's a very different country. It's very far. It's in Asia. We don't speak Chinese, but they can speak English here, of course. But they have to be bold and to say, okay, let's cross the pond, okay, the Pacific, and try our luck here in Taiwan. If they do that, I'm sure many of them would find opportunities that they cannot even imagine right now, okay, just because
Wow.
they haven't tried. But if they tried, I think many of them would find those opportunities, or at least a welcoming terrain to at least try. You know.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, the conversation is terrific, Marcel. We are running out of time, so just my final
Yeah.
question for you is about your channel, Taiwan Edge. Just if you can tell with me and our audience, I mean, your plans going forward. I mean, in the short term at least, what are you expecting for your channel?
Well, the channel is very new, so it's still very small. I am learning as I go. As you well know, my background is in print journalism, so I've worked in newspapers all my life. So having a YouTube channel was not in my plans, but I decided to, change careers and do this. It's a lot of hard work, but it's also a lot of fun. I'm having a very great time doing this. And as you mentioned in your introduction, the channel has profiles of companies, it has interviews, it has business stories, and I recently agreed on a partnership with Taiwanese podcast that is AI powered. Okay, that it's a daily podcast that is going to give my channel one episode per week, a summary of the week about the semiconductor and artificial intelligence industry. And I'm really very proud of that partnership. That podcast is called Inside Taiwan. Okay, and they agreed to partner with me because they share the same goals to reach to take the Taiwanese story beyond Taiwan's borders. And I should also mention that something is that my channel is actually two channels. One is in English for the global audience, so to speak, and the other channel with the same content is in Spanish because I speak both languages, so I figured I could do that. And the Spanish channel is focused specifically, is geared to the Latin American audience, to companies and to people interested in technology in Latin America, and because I want to tell them about all these things that we have talked here today. and the opportunities they can find in Taiwan. I hope maybe some government authorities, okay, not only at the national level but also at the provincial or city level, could also open their minds and their eyes to maybe start exploring the possibilities of doing business with Taiwanese companies in areas that I know they need. Okay, like smart cities, for example. I mean, our cities in Latin America, we need to build the infrastructure for the 21st century. We are. I know we are starting to do that, but we are very far from where we need to be. The same with our healthcare systems, okay, or with energy and with computers and all of that. Those are areas where I think government authorities at the municipal, provincial, and national level in all of Latin America would do well to start looking at Taiwan. And I hope my channel is a way for them to inform themselves about those opportunities.
Okay, my friend. We have come to the end of our episode. It's been a terrific conversation, Marcel.
Thank you.
And it's as you know, always a pleasure to catch up with you and talk with you. I really congratulate you on what you're doing with your channel, and I wish you the best. I think what you're doing is really very important for both Taiwan and Latin America.
Thank you. I'm very happy that you invited me. It's really a pleasure to talk to you as always. And it's an honor to be able to reach your audience through your podcast. I know your other partner in this podcast, so please say hello to him too.
I do.
And you are also doing a terrific work, trying to close the distances between Latin America and Asia in general. So I feel that we share a little bit of the same mission. I think Latin America needs to look not only at Taiwan, of course, but at Asia with more attention and more depth, because Asia is the region of the world that is more economically dynamic at this moment. This is where the middle class is growing fastest in the world, where many of the most developed economies and more innovative companies are based. So and many of our countries are looking at Asia. I mean, just Chile is crazy. If you go to a Chilean beach and you start swimming, you know, you will never reach Berlin or Paris or Madrid. Okay, if you really swim for a long time, or let's say you take a boat, you will reach Asia. Asia is in front of us, so to speak, at the other side of the Pacific. So I think it's only natural that we look at Asia with a more strategic intent and vision.
Okay, my friend, and thank you so much again. And to our followers, don't miss out on our next episode of Connecting East and West.
Yes,
we're going to continue to speak with people like so smart as Marcel Oakley here. And thank you so much. Bye to all of you.
Bye. Thank you.